Right then. Right. Let's dive straight into another one. We fired up Blender. We got our screencast. Epic pen if we need it. Also have my wireframe. Let's dive straight into modelling Mario. We'll use this cube we've got. We'll turn off the camera and light. I like to move this cube up to the origin. Control A. All transforms. Make sure you're across the x-axis there. And I guess we could model half the face, couldn't we? Mirror it. Could be save us a bit of time. I think we'll go for that then. So let's get into edit mode. Cut along there. We'll go into face mode. Select these faces here. Delete faces. And yeah, let's model half the face and mirror it. So we're on Super Mario. Let's start the face then to start with. Let's get some little edge loops in there. We've got some more geo to work with. Inserting some edge loops. We'll go into see-through mode. Actually, we could we'll just jump straight into a sculpt mode for this. Smooth. I like to have that at 0.4 so it doesn't destroy it as much. Let's hit G for grab. F to resize, and let's just start moving. Start moving this about to try and shape this head. So I've just downloaded reference for Mario. Smooth the edges here. Remember to, before really, we should go to right click and shade smooth, all transforms, sculpt. Let's just try and shape this head a bit. It's like pretty much a spherical kind of shape, isn't he, Mario? Let's just look at it from the front. He's got cheeks come out a bit, and that goes in, and he's got his hat, so we haven't got to worry too much about the top. And his chin sort of goes, and you've got a bit of a inset part there. Smooth that out. Just tapping smooth. Smoothing this in. I mean, I'm going to be Control S to save. I'm going to be wary kind of thing, wary about poly count. But if we have to make it a bit more heavy, it's okay. We're only going to be doing a simple idle. We're going to model, rig and animate. It'll be a simple idle. So chin down, that goes in a bit. Probably need a bit more geo around there, but let's just keep pulling this shape out of it. Let's go into the side view. And he's got sort of a chin there. Probably need to feel in a bit of a neck. Even though his clothes pretty much go right up to the neck. And obviously he's got his nose, which is quite important. So I think we could go into edit mode. Face mode. Let's just try and get a position for the eyes and nose from the front. The hat is somewhere there. So his eyes somewhere around that area for his eye. So we could right click and extrude that inwards to the eye. Nose. Quite a big nose really. So extrude that the other way. The nose. Control S to save. We'll go into edit mode. Edge. We had a few supporting edges in here. So when we add a subdiv, it's not going to destroy it as much. We add a few more loops there. And add a few more loops here. Adding our loop cuts. The back's not too important really. So then we can go back into sculpt mode. Let's just start shaping this eye a little bit. Create more roundness for the eye. So that comes down there. Possibly should have had a little bit of separation between the eye and the nose, but let's just go with it for now, see how it turns out. Let's just start shaping this nose a little bit from the side. When we mirror this, we won't want these faces here when we mirror it. So delete faces. That doesn't matter so much. Back into sculpt mode. Just shape this nose a bit. And we could have simply added a sphere really for the nose. That's very spherical, isn't it, the nose as well? Tap smooth. Maybe do with a bit more geo along there. Let's just leave it like that for now. Nose. Pretty much a ball, isn't it? Sphere, the nose. Maybe not quite as big. Eyes are coming down here. And around there. Just tap smooth on it. I need to pull that out. Just possibly create a touch of separation. Remember from the side that on a human it's more of a triangle there. But let's have it round, tap smooth. We'll use a sphere there for the eye. Just tweak the proportions around there, tapping smooth. Nose needs a bit of work. Maybe doesn't go out quite as much. It does come down there. Tap smooth there. We need to think about the mouth and the tash. We shall probably have the tash as a separate object. Just move that up there, that down for the chin. Cheeks come out quite a bit. Tapping smooth there, Control S to save. Just moving it about with the grab brush. Mouth. Let's go to Edit. Let's insert a few edge loops there. There. And then, so we've got his Tash right under his nose. So the mouth can be sort of, maybe this bit here, the mouth. Goes pretty much to the end of the nose. So I'm thinking that extrude it inwards like that. Add a few supporting edges to keep the structure in there. Not there, in there. Again, we can delete those faces there for the mirror. Back into Sculpt mode. Just tap smooth. Just tapping smooth there with a 0.4 setting. There's the simple mouth, which will polish up a bit. Like that. Not going to be doing much with the animation of the face really. We can go with that and now and we'll polish that up a bit. The simple mouth. Let's think about shape of this eye again. Sort of a stretched sphere really, isn't it? It's a simple. Didn't really touch them vertices there for when we mirror. So let's look at it. Let's just analyse it from the front. So cheek coming out. There's going to be a bit of hair. There's his eye. A bit more roundness around there. We could go into edit mode. Insert a couple more loops. Into Sculpt mode. Tapping smooth again with shift. Now we can create a little bit more roundness of the eye. I'm thinking in edit mode we'll insert a few loops into there as well. Looks a bit more geometry to play with. Nose is still a touch big. Let's just tap smooth. Tapping smooth. Definitely need a little bit of polish on the nose there. As I say, pretty much a sphere, isn't it, his nose? We'll polish that up a little bit. Chin. Got to come down a bit. So, in, out, shake it all about. Ears, he's obviously got ears as well. So, let's just look at the structure of that, that's not too bad. We'll get the moustache. We'll Tash in there, tap smooth on that. So yeah, ears. Let's look at the side again. Tap smooth there, a little bit of a. Even though it's a cartoon, we'll try and mimic a little bit of a cheekbone there. Tap smooth, ears. Let's go into edit mode. Face. Somewhere around. It seems to go quite far back, don't these ears? Maybe somewhere around there. So sort of Yeah. Somewhere around here, let's extrude them out and add some edge loops. Let's just start shaping these ears a little bit here. Obviously they're not that big, so if you tap smooth, that'll bring them back in. More sort of shape to them, sort of a curve around there, isn't it? Up there. And I've probably got to come back a bit there as well. It needs a bit of polish on the ears, but it's that kind of feeling, isn't it? Let's tap smooth here. Because this sort of comes down. And if we keep tapping smooth, well, we're going to have hair anyway in there. It doesn't matter so much. It goes up to there and then it's just the hair, isn't it? For that kind of thing. Hair and a hat. He's got his hat on. So we need a little bit more polish, but that's along the lines of what we're going for. Tap smooth there. You've got a brow, tash, hair, hat. There's still quite a bit to add on the head. I like the idea of just going into, even though we haven't got much geo, if you go into draw, and just tap along there, at least it gives you a bit of a feeling of having a lip. So what we could do now, we could just create a little hole in there for now. Then we can go to modifiers, add modifier, generate subdivision surface. We set that to 2. Let's give us a bit more geometry to play with, doesn't it? Turn off optimal. We'll see that that's give us some more geometry. G for grab. And you can just shape it some more there. Spin round and shape stuff. So we'll need to polish all that up a bit. Bring that back there. Just looking at the structure of it all. We'll set that to 1 for now. There's cheeks coming out here. Tapping smooth. That's the simple structure which needs a bit of polish. That's not too bad. Spinning around the different angles. Now look at it. I think what we need to do now is go to add mesh, UV sphere, shade smooth, 90, scale, bring it up, bring it over there, scale. It's kind of an elongated sphere, isn't it, his eye? Let's just get that into a basic position. Ideally needs to come over a bit, I feel. Maybe to there. If we go into sculpt mode, you can just move over the head mesh a bit to accommodate this eye more. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing Mario because my kids are. One of my kids, Jacob, is quite a fan of Mario lately, the last few months. I thought I might as well do a little tutorial on Mario. I'm just shaping that a bit. You're not going to be doing any facial animation, I don't think. I shaped that, that's the eye. It needs a bit of polish around there, but that's the eye in place. Let's go to Control S to save. Add mesh. Bit of a cube man I am, I just can't like working with cubes. I think it's from doing a lot of box modelling back in the day, starting with a cube, adding the edge loops, and we're going to edit mode. Cut in some loops. And go into face mode. Delete all those faces here. And we can just mirror it again. So a few more edge loops. Let's just look at the structure of this. Control A, all transforms. You get clean values. Let's go into Sculpt mode again. Tap smooth along here. Just to break the harshness of the sides. Just get the basic shape in there. It's probably best in edit mode, really, I think. See through. It sort of goes up, doesn't it? Isn't he Italian? Sure, he's an Italian, isn't he? Might be wrong, but scale. This is just a basic shape. Usually you've got sort of primary, secondary and tertiary. I'm just getting the basic primary shape in place here. We come out to see-through mode, into object mode. We can move this up and just scale it a bit. And it does pretty much cover his mouth, doesn't it? His Tash. Can't really see a lot of his mouth. Can just maybe hug the bottom of his nose or something. We're in Sculpt mode. Yeah, he seems to like come down a bit, doesn't it? If we Control S to save, add a few more loops here. And then in Sculpt mode, we've got our values again. So Control A, all transforms. We'll just bring it sort of that sort of thing, isn't it? Sort of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Obviously we need a bit more geometry. I'm just getting the basic one in. There's one there and up. Another one there. Along the lines of that. Just tap smooth. And what we could do That seems to come up there a bit more, doesn't it? Along the lines of that. Shade smooth. Generate subdivision surface. And we can just shape it a bit more. So that's going to need a bit of polish, which I'll dock out a bit and just polish that up. So I can't show every single vertex move. That's the basic shape of the Tash. Obviously, it comes back here onto his face a bit. Alt Q. Alt Q. Probably do with going back a bit more. Maybe the face would come back a bit. Definitely got a cheek, hasn't it? That comes back a bit. So we need to just polish that up a bit more roundness in it. But that's the basic structure of the beard in place. Next up, I guess what we could do is Shift D to duplicate that. But the problem is we've got an open structure, haven't we, there? I don't really want to weld it, so we won't do that. We'll just go to our old trusty friend, I think, the cube again. Move that up there. Move that along. Scale that. Scale it. We're just adding the eyebrows now. Few edge loops. See-through mode. Vertex. Bring these up a bit. These down a bit. This up. Middle bit up. How to see through mode. Scale it a little bit. Maybe bring it down like that. Move that down. Scale it there. Into edit mode. Add a couple of edges there. It's good to get a supporting edge, like 2 edges. And when you add your subdivision modifier, sorry, I did a solidify, so generate subdivision. It doesn't destroy it. Right click to shade smooth. It doesn't destroy it as much. And you can go into sculpt mode. You'll always get these values here, unless you reset it. And just tweak the shape. So that's going to need a bit of work. The shape. And where it's sitting. Needs sort of rotating back a bit. Moving, so we need to do a bit of work on that. That's the basic eyebrow in place. Bring that down to somewhere there. Tash. Control S to save. Now we need to think about the hair as well. We also need to think about the hat. So we'll add mesh cube. Bring this up here. Edit mode. Cut that. Grab all these faces. Delete the faces, and we can mirror that as well. This is going to be the hat. So scale. Just try and look at the basic shape of this hat. Try and get the size so it's seems to somewhere like that. We'll go into edit mode, see through, vertex. So down like that. So this is like very basic, low poly modelling now. Just really moving your vertices. And there's not much geometry. So starting off very basic, building up. This down there a bit. This up. And obviously you can start adding some more edges in there. You got more geometry. Have your supporting edges, so you got kind of your double edge. Then we can go into, I mean there's not, probably need a few more along there, and if we go into, always forget to do that, Control A, all transforms, come out to see through, we're in sculpt mode now, G, you can start shaping this, that's a bit better, it seems to go up there, tap smooth there, down there, outwards, tap smooth. For our supporting edge, but we can tap smooth there. Sort of, it goes up there, tap smooth. So by adding our supporting edges, we've got more geo to play with there. It goes, looks more like Popeye's hat, doesn't it, at the minute? Goes out. And around. Up here. Tap smooth. Down. And he sort of goes like in and out, doesn't he? There. Oh. Bring this back. And this bit goes up. So we're just shaping the hat. Seems to more sort of roundness on the hat, isn't there? He comes more out, wraps onto his ear. We need to do a bit of polish on that hat. That's sort of the basic shape of it, isn't it? It needs quite a bit of work. I mean, it's sort of, it's like a proper cap, really, isn't it? We could go into edit mode, face, grab these here, extrude these out. Move them up a bit. And we need to obviously add a few edge loops in there. It's just a case of shaping this hat a bit better. So this seems to go up, doesn't it? And there's obviously more roundness to this cap. Make the brush quite big. And maybe this edge doesn't go quite as far across. Needs a little bit of work. You can go to inflate to just bring a bit of thickness back along there. Remember to shade smooth. F to resize, G to grab. And we just need to tweak and get the correct shape for this hat really. Alt Q onto the head. And this hat's bigger, isn't it? Really. It goes in there, then back out, and a bit more roundness at the back. So that's going to need a bit of tweaking. That hat is, but that's the basic structure of it in place. Obviously you need some hair as well, which we'll do by adding a cube and tweaking that, or we could actually in edit mode turn our subdiv off. What you could do is you could grab the various faces like that. What you need. So one's round the back and that. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this like that. And then I think that it's mesh. I think you can duplicate the face somehow. Or face. Or if you go to Shift D, that's it, you can Shift D, so you can duplicate the face. Then what you could do then is generate a Solidify on that to create the thickness. So that's one way of going about the hair, which we need to do. So that's the basics of the head in shape, which obviously needs a bit of polish. We need to mirror it. We need to tweak the structure first. Once we've tweaked the structure, we can mirror it. But what we need to do now really is start thinking about getting the body in there. Let's look into doing this body next. Yep, so that's the basic structure in place, but you got to remember that we're mirroring this. So what you want to do is you want to sort of Obviously when you mirror that, it's going to go up to create an indent. If you look at the reference, it should be pretty much flowing into the chin, shouldn't it? And obviously if you look at this nose, when you mirror that, it's going to be a bit too big. So we need to go around and just think about that. It's that nose, when you mirror it, we're obviously rushing a bit to show the process of it. You need to make that nose a little bit smaller so it'll mirror into a perfect sphere, really. So obviously that would be around there. We'll tap smooth. So we'll need to go in and do a bit of polishing on that. Obviously from the side it's not great. It's like I say, I'm rushing a bit to show the process. That's all got to be tweaked a bit more, really. So what goes down there and back up. You move this across more here. You can Alt Q, just move this eye over a bit. Obviously, as I say, this hat needs a lot more work. And again, you'll want it to mirror nicely. Alt Q to grab the head. Bring that up here. We've obviously got to think about our hair. So, not sure I've shown this before, but you can grab it like that, for example, and Shift D. Sorry, wrong one. Shift D to duplicate. And you could add a Solidify Modifier maybe to that. Generate Solidify. And that's the way you could do the hair. So the hair's got to be done. Still not 100% happy with this. But I'm going to duck out and polish this because you can't rush. Really, it's the most important part of the face. I've just shown you the basic structure and workflow of how to create the face. I think the most important thing next, we'll probably need to sculpt a bit of details on the ear. It looks quite basic, isn't it, really, the ear? The hair's going to come down there. That's not too bad, that's getting there. Obviously need a nice bit of, need to go in different angles, create a nice bit of roundness on things. That can be the basic face, which you can add your mirror modifier to. I'm not going to do that now. So I think what the next most important thing is really is save it. I think it's best to try and get our body in place now. We want to rename this stuff to head. Doesn't have to be in capitals. Eyebrow. Tash. Eye. You can create a new collection maybe. Put your camera and light in there. Let's call that cam lights. Turn that off. That's our geo for Mario. So let's have a swig of tea. Best drink going, tea and water. So like I say, we've got to polish stuff up here, which I'll do and tell you what I've done. I'm going to start showing you how to get the body in place now. So I think we'll hide all that for now. Edit, add, trusty old cube. Add mesh, cube, body. We got all that head and stuff. Let's hide that, yeah. Let's try and start shaping this basic body then from a cube. Let's move that up to there. Control A, all transforms. Let's really try and get a bit of speed on the go with this thing. Again, edit mode. Cut that along there. Interface mode. You're going to see through. Delete faces. We can mirror it again. So let's do half this body. Get some edge loops in there to start. Can't beat an edge loop. Edge loops. So we're going really simple box modelling. Get the structure in place. Just a case of getting a load of reference images, which I've got in pure ref on one of the monitor, but don't have any copyright issues, so I'm not going to show them. But pure ref's good, yeah. You just Google Super Mario. There's some good front and side views on it as well. Let's think about, so the arm there, extrude this out, add our edge loops. Best to try and keep the polygons quite uniform. Doesn't have to be absolutely smack on uniform, which means the same, but best to try and keep them quite the same kind of size. Let's add some supporting edges in here and along there. If we're going to Control A, all transforms, if we're going to Sculpt mode, F to resize, just start smoothing along there now to create a bit of roundness. We're just zoomed out, creating some roundness. We're smoothing the edges. So you want a T or an A pose when you're rigging. Obviously that's T and A is down there. But let's look at the basic structure then from the front. He's got his legs. And keep it straight. But we'll add a little bit of a We'll add a little bit of a tilt to it. And from the side, it's got a bit of a belly there. All that pasta he's been eating. I'm sure he's Italian. Probably wrong there. This up there seems to be going upwards. Get a little bit of an arse there. He's got overalls on, hasn't he? Control S to save. Bit of tobbiness there. And really, he's got like his overalls. And that's separate, isn't it? What the jumper bit. So we need to think about that really. Let's just check this reference. Yeah, we have to think about that. We'll probably separate part of that. Let's just carry on. Tapping smooth. Tapping smooth there. We'll mirror that. I don't know if you can catch that on the mic, but my phone's ringing. I don't answer it, it's only sales stuff. Bit of a shoulder there. I'll say his belly pushes out of it, doesn't it? We're going to have to go to add mesh cube. So we got a bit of a reference for the boot. This is something like that's obviously just a very basic shape of it. We'll touch it, put it out there just a bit. Scaly. That's going to be his boot, which we need to shape. Shift D. Looks like he's got white gloves on, doesn't he? So while we're at it, you might as well try and get these white gloves in place. Let's go into edit mode. Add some loops. He looks like he's got the normal 5 fingers, doesn't he? So, a few supporting edges there. Let's go into face. I think we'll extrude. 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 Think about the size of these fingers. Obviously your middle finger's biggest, then that, then your little finger, then your thumb comes out onto that sort of place, doesn't it? Extrude. Add a few edges in here so it doesn't collapse when we add our subdivision modifier. I don't think we're going to be bending those. We're going to do a little wave. So there's the very, very basic hand. Right click and shade smooth. All transforms to deltas to maintain the pivot point. Generate a subdivision surface. Go into sculpt mode. If knock that off for now, subdiv. Start smoothing. Just shift to smooth it. To break some of the edges. To make it more of a hand structure. We've missed a few edges there, haven't we? A few more edges in there. Back into sculpt mode. And smooth out. And obviously you need to shape that hand better. This is very, very basic. You can go into draw. F to resize, hold control. You can do stuff like that, smooth, dig inwards. Need more geo, really, but G to grab. So that needs quite a bit of work, but that's the basic way of creating a hand. There's probably a better and easier methods, but obviously I'm just working very fast. Obviously need to change the proportions a bit. So that needs quite a bit of work in polish. He's quite chunky really, his hand, looking at the reference. That's going to need a lot of work. He's got quite big hands really, hasn't he? Just smoothing out. Quick bit of tweaking. I think the bigness of his hands is because in the reference, it's just that he's got them in a clenched fist, that's all. I don't think they're you can go into inflate if that gets a bit. It's starting to get a bit thin. Just inflate it a bit. So that needs a lot of work. Shade smooth on that. Generate a subdivision surface. Then in sculpt mode, grab. Start moving things about. Proportions wise, his body should be smaller. But obviously we need to one-eyed the head. I think the arms are that's the basic. Let's one-eyed the head. And we obviously need to get the structure of all the proportions in place now. So there's our head. Let's have a look at it in context with the body. Scale. So just tweaking proportions now. Moving proportions to get it right in context with the head. Obviously if I'm looking at that in the reference, it needs to be a bit bigger there. Head still seems a bit too big. Bring it down in the Z. His head's quite big really, compared to the body. Look at this from the side. Seems a little bit too thin, really. Tap smooth. Body shape's a bit strange there, isn't it? Tap smooth. That's starting to look a little bit better. Tapping smooth. Tap smooth again. If you look at different angles, I want to create a bit of roundness. You're looking for there, you got a bit of roundness in it, instead of it being flat. Tap smooth again. Arms, I think you go to inflate. Seems like they should be a little bit more thicker, the arms. Control S to save. Obviously we need to work on the boots. G to grab. Just keep tweaking things about. Boots got to be done. Tap smooth there. Bit more roundness in there. So just going around tweaking all the shape. Let's just look at the head and body. I would say that this body is still a little bit big. Bring that down. And grab the head. Bring all that down. Still not perfect, but it does feel a little bit better. And I thought he was quite thick because of he's got it clenched. And he's got kind of got a bit of a lip on these gloves, which we need to think about as well. If we just go into / to isolate, into edit mode, We grab, hold Alt. Not sure if he's going to select it that way. Selected it that way, yeah, you can do it like that. Extrude along normals and bring that out. Add a couple of supporting edges in there. When you turn your subdiv back on, you've got a bit of a lip which you need. You should obviously need to shape a bit. When you could really, in theory, delete these faces here. Don't need them. I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that. I'll probably delete them faces there. So you've got that little bit of a lip. Which we obviously need to tweak a little bit and create some more of a roundness. So it's more rounded. I want to go around and create more roundness on things. That's far from perfect, but it's getting more along the lines of what we want. Let's bring this arm in, make it a bit smaller. Control S to save. Always want to get into the habit of every few minutes, Control S to save. And you can actually go to File, Save, Incremental. In case you make a mistake, you can go back to the previous file. That happens plenty of times, especially in games. So the proportions are looking a bit better, aren't they there? Boot obviously needs some work. I'm just thinking of this overall problem now. And obviously, as I say, we need to tweak the face a bit more before we mirror it. We'll mirror this body as well. Tapping smooth. Looks like he's got a bit of a lip on these trousers as well. So if we turn off our subdiv and go into edit mode, you hold Alt, you'll grab the face loop again, extrude faces outwards. Move them out. That's going all the way around to create like a bit of a lip on the trousers. And a few supporting edges in there. Turn your subdiv back on, it's not too bad. You could delete them again, as I say. That's the bottom there. Don't really need the lip there because we've got it on the gloves. Let's have a swig of water. Still not happy with that hand. Needs a bit of work on it. So what I'll be doing soon, I'll be ducking out and doing a bit of polishing on this. I'll come back and tell you what polish I've done. But not just yet, I'm going to look into the structure more. I hope you get it more into the correct place. You've got to think about these overalls and separating this, haven't we? We're going off piece a little bit here. It's best to kind of flick between meshes though. Because then everything evolves at the same sort of time. You're not just working on one thing and then forgetting other things. You'll see something, you'll make a change. You'll see something, make a change. Think about your line, shape, form, silhouette. Different angles, getting a bit of roundness in there. Not much of a shoulder, is there? I'm hoping just to have him wave the final animation, so we've got to obviously rig him up. Roughness in there, a bit of a bomb there. We go into measure. You can do that. It's 2.3. If you go 2.3, yeah, you'll see that the arm will go to there, which is probably a touch too much. That's good, the measure tool. So pretty much from there, the 2.1 and the bend, the 2.1. That's not too bad, that's quite maybe a touch too big. I still think this head, select, deleted the wrong thing. I still think this head's a little bit, needs a touch more, maybe. And this hat needs to, we're tweaking on the hat. So let's look at this overalls then. Just zooming on this reference a bit. So I haven't really got reference from the back. Sorry, I'm just looking at this reference. So these overalls, I'm guessing like Dungarees kind of thing, isn't it? What we'll do, we'll go to edit mode. This round about that sort of area. Edit mode. Let's grab we could separate and solidify, really. Just trying to think of the best way to go about it. I don't think we really needed that extra edge loop, did we, really? We just want to keep it simple for rigging. So it's pretty much, let's isolate his body. Interface mode. It's there really where they come round, the Dungarees. Now this is pretty much his jumper. So these ones across here are his jumper. Let's select all them. That's his jumper. And also his arms. his jumper as well. Let's just check that. I think he might be just that. He's the Dungaree. So this is his jumper around here. Something like that. And the Dungarees there. If that's the jumper, I'm guessing we could separate the selection. We've got two different objects. There's our Dungaree, and there's our jumper. And we can colour them different, can't we? Then on this, with our subdiv, we just have to think about rigging. Might cause a little problem. We've got open, more of an open mesh, haven't we there? What we could do, generate Solidify. That's give us a bit more thickness, hasn't it now? Give our Solidify. On this, generate Solidify. Isolate. Let's give us some thickness. Say 3, or thickness of 3. So that should work alright, that. So in Sculpt mode, we can just shape this out a little bit now. And it looks like we've got 2 sets of geometry, doesn't it? Which is what we want. Obviously need to tweak the roundness a bit. Maybe add a bit more thickness to it. That's the kind of thing we want. 2 separate bits of geo. So he's got his jumper and his Dungarees. If you go to 2, you'll get more. If you go to 3, you'll get more geo. You just got to be aware of that. Your poly counter when you're animating. Because that's like, it's good to turn that off when you're animating. We'll probably need a bit more thickness on that. Let's just look where we are then. He's got his Dungarees, overalls, whatever they are. Don't need to say optimal. Tapping smooth. So with a few little more proportion tweaks, that should be Mario ready to rock. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to duck out for 10-15 minutes, something like that. Do a bit of tweaking, a few little more proportion tweaks. Do the boot. Things like getting a bit more roundness in there. tweak this face a little bit. Because what we're going to be doing, we're going to be going to generate mirror. And so it's quite big, isn't it? That. So what you can do is you can scale things a bit. And tweak things a bit. Probably on this body as well. And then you can generate your mirror. And if you dial up your merge value, so it merges into one mesh. But as I say, before you do that, you want to just make sure the structure's perfect, because see, his head's too big there. But once you've merged it, you can obviously scale everything down to get your proportions perfect again based on your reference. It's always best before you add your mirror modifier to go in and get it bang on, because you can see the proportions are still off there. You just dial up your merge. So obviously we're a bit too big, aren't we, on that? So I want to sort of scale things down, tweak stuff before you generate your mirror. Obviously it's going inwards there, isn't it? What you need to do is tweak it out so it doesn't go in. It's a bit awkward at times. So you've tweaked that. Out more. Now you can generate a mirror. It's not going to be perfect, far from it. Then you dial up so it's joined. And once you've joined it, you can just go in smooth and tweak and all that stuff. So that's how it works. So it's hard at times working with the mirror modifier, because you're not 100% on the proportions to start with. Like obviously if it's all in front here as one, you can see the proportions right off the bat. But when you're working with your mirror modifier, it takes a bit of tweaking to get it right as a whole, kind of thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to polish all this up and get it mirrored. So I'll come back and I'll show you the final model. And I've got all the roundness in there, got it all polished up a bit, added the hair, added the boot, tweaked, as I say, all the scale. So when you do apply your mirror modifier, it looks a lot better. Remember to dial up your merge. As I say, once you'll still go in and tweak stuff once you've added your mirror modifier. You'll go in and start smoothing and tweaking stuff to get the bang on proportions. But yeah, that's how you go about it. So I'm going to duck out, do a bit of polish. I shall be back. I'll show you the final model. Right, so I'm back on it after doing some tweaking. What did I do? Usually I only duck out for 10 or 15 minutes before I come back and show the polish notes, but probably spent about 30 minutes this time. About 35 minutes. Proportions are still not perfect. I think to do with making this section a little bit smaller. But we can tweak that in a bit. You're always going to be going back and forth with proportion checks, especially on a character model. Alt Q, by the way, to select the different meshes. So yeah, I've and from the side, maybe being a bit thinner. So yeah, I've applied the mirror modifier to the body here. The shoes here, we can apply this mirror modifier. That I've applied it. The hands, we can apply the mirror modifier. So that's the body pretty much in place. A few little proportion tweaks, as I say, could do with created less thick on the arm and more roundness around there. Just going in from different angles and looking at it, checking the silhouette, looking from the back, from the side, there. So if that's the body pretty much in place, let's select the head, / the solo. Then we can apply, well, generate a mirror modifier now for the head. We can see full. Then, if we dial up our merge here, just dialing up the merge, so the verts merge together. There's going to be sections at times that aren't merged correctly. You just got to dial up or dial down your merge. Try and get merged properly. In some sections you might have to go in and weld a little bit. Say on that nose there. It does happen sometimes if you haven't got a perfect not made it sort of perfect there and it's not going in at all. You have to make it a perfect sort of across the, so just there you might make sure it's not going over the X line at all. That looks pretty much merged. Obviously you got bits there. It's difficult at times when you're working with the mirror. So we'll file, save incremental. And what we'll do with that mirror now, I think, we'll get that mirror applied. Then what we can do then is we can see it / as a whole. Let's hide the hat for a minute and the hair that I created. I created the hair, by the way, when I around there. Nothing complex to it. Let's hide the hat and hair. Let's just work with the face then, looking at our reference. Let's turn X on. Let's start tweaking his face a bit. To try and get it matched up more to the reference. Obviously the head should be coming up here. We've got the hat. We're just going in and smoothing around there to smooth out that transition part. let's hide the Tash for a minute. And so you got sections there that it hasn't quite merged. What you can do, if you turn your subdiv off, you can go into edit mode there and just simply hit M at centre and you'll merge the vertices. If you got funny sections, if you want it nice and clean, so if you hit M at centre, got it nice and clean there. Just checking. So back into Sculpt mode. And now you've got the whole body, or sorry, the head in front here as a whole. Give you a much better shot. Getting the proportions right of the head. And so we're just in Sculpt mode, just moving stuff about really. Smoothing out around this section here to create some more roundness. Head, as I say, doesn't matter too much at the top of the head because we've got the hat. And you always want to strive, you're going to be rigging this, we're not going to be creating much facial animation, but in general you should always be striving for nice clean topology, nice even quads. You see some topology, it's all over the place. Try and keep nice clean topology, flowing polygons. But yeah, keep tweaking this head and the nose and stuff. Never going to be 100% perfect on a tutorial because we're rushing a bit. But you can see that bit sticking out a bit. So just tapping smooth. The chin comes down a bit. And it goes in, cheeks go out, and it goes inwards a bit. All cue to just grab these eyebrows, tweak them back in. Nose seems to cover corner of the eye there. So yeah, as I say, when you've got that mirror modifier applied, you tweak your proportions more. And the ear's not sculpted 100% right. We go to level 2. Just tweak around. You can turn it on and off there. So you haven't really got enough geo to sculpt a proper ear. If you go up to 3, you probably add a bit more. Because obviously you've got sort of your section there and a section there. But as I say, I'm not looking for perfection on this. So keep tweaking the. Just check my reference here. Chin a bit smaller. Ears around there, that comes in, you've got the hair, nose, something like that. Down a little bit. Eye, maybe a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit closer to each other as well. So all I'm using is a grab brush to move stuff about. We can go into object mode. Objects hurries into geometry. Move this eye in a bit. All transforms. Should be all transforms to deltas really to keep your pivot point. If you did want to add an eye dart, it's going to pivot around properly. So something along the lines of that. Still needs a bit of tweaking, but that's in the ballpark, or as I like to say with animation, a ballpark arc. More tweaking on that. I apologise about these tutorials going on. Longer than I thought they would. I'm just showing a lot of the process, so I'm afraid they're longer than the hour and a half I envisaged when I first started this. Obviously that head shape, head needs to come up here, but we're not too worried about that because we got the hat covering it. So smoothing out, tweaking. Needs a bit more tweaking to be perfect. It's definitely getting there. Cheeks a bit chubbier. Eye down, nose down a bit. Let's bring the Tash up. Tash. Let's solo the Tash. Object mode. Sculpt mode. Let's bring this so it's over the x-axis around there. Let's go to generate mirror. Dial up your merge. Merge them together. And you've got sections here that are dial it back down. Not too worried about the back, you're not going to see it. So let's just apply that for now. Come out of solo mode. And tweak this beard. As I say, you got some sections. And now you've applied it, it's okay, look, it's nice and clean. You can get, as I say, the dirty sections. You just have to merge them back together. His texture. Yeah, you can see a bit of his mouth, can't you? There. You go to 2. Sorry, don't keys. Go to 2. If you're a bit more geo. You take off optimal display, you'll see all your actual verts. I bring this down. That's got more of a point to it, which we'll need to polish. So that's the beard in the ballpark. Grab that. Nose seems to be a bit bigger to me. You're always noticing stuff and going in and fixing and tweaking, and from the side that seems to go up a bit more and in a bit there. And we also need to add, while we're at it, we'll go to add mesh cylinder, scale it, $90, scale. There's a button there. And because this tutorial's gone on quite long, I don't think we're going to have time for the unwrapping. I think we're going to have to just apply some simple textures on this. I've got plenty of other unwrapping videos. Now, if you want to unwrap stuff, let's go into edit mode. Add an edge loop there. Select that. face, scale it a bit, bring that in, back into object mode, right click and shade smooth. That's the simple button, which we'll obviously need to get into place properly in a bit. Sorry, selected the wrong one there. That's the simple button which sits somewhere around there, but we still need to tweak the proportions a touch on the body before we add that. This, we can go to generate a mirror. That's our other eyebrow. We need to tweak that in a touch. The eye, let's generate a mirror. Select the head. Control S to save. We may have them separate so we can add a little eye dart animation. The hair and the hat. So really the hair needs to, let's try and just inflate this hair a bit. Inflate and smooth. Inflate a bit around here. And then, I know we can't see it as such, but just for tidiness, let's bring it in to the head there. Hat. Yeah, so we'll need to over here. Let's solo that. It's a little bit messy there. Let's knock our subdiv off. We might be a bit messy generating this. Let's dial up the merge. Merge it together. Merge. Let's just apply that. Come out of solo mode. I'll have to do a bit of tweaking on that. Actually, let's undo that. Into solo. I wonder what that's going to be like if we apply that. It's okay, so we can go into edit mode. Merge them. We're not going to see that at the back. Obviously, if this was going into a game, you'd want it perfect. And the hat is the last thing. There's the hair. Let's look at the hat. And before you apply it, you just want to check that you're very close. You're going to solo. Really, you should be leaving the vertices smack on this X line. That's why you're getting a few discrepancies, because it's not smack on. When you go around tweaking stuff, I sometimes forget about my mirror modifier and move these vertices that are a little bit over the X. So that doesn't look too bad. Let's go into object mode. Let's generate a mirror modifier and see how it looks Let me merge that together. That's merged pretty well. So let's apply that. That's the hat. Let's come out of solo mode. Now we've got the hat in place and the mirror applied. We can go into X there and then start tweaking this hat a bit and match the proportions more. Looks like it could maybe do with set origin to geometry, maybe scale it down a bit. Remember to apply it. I shall get that warning. So going round and tweaking the hat now and everything else. Tapping smooth, using grab, all the juicy stuff. Going round, checking everything's in place. All the proportions look nice. So what I'll do now, I'll do a final proportion tweak and a final little bit of polish on this for 10 minutes. And I'll come back and I'll show you the proper final model this time with everything applied and everything in place. And what we'll do then, we'll start adding some simple materials to it before rigging. So I'll be back in a minute with the final model. Right, I've just spent another 10 or 15 minutes polishing up, finishing off. Remember to knock off your wireframe as well there to see in context as well how it'll look. A few things are still aren't perfect, but that's the bulk of it in place. Adjusted the proportions. I've turned on the subdivision for each one. I also, on this, it was open there, if you remember right, so I just welded like we did with the, was it the hat? Where we just sort of welded like the open space so it'll rig better. So yeah, adjusted the proportions here, scaled stuff. Bit more tweaking on things. I duplicated this button up to there and added an M, which you can go to add text. And what you can do then once you've added the text is you can right click and convert to mesh, and you can get at the vertexes then if you, it's not an 100% mirror. So what, if you look at the M on Mario, it comes out like that, doesn't it? So if you convert it to a mesh, you can just tweak that. Make sure you're in see-through, so you grab and just shape it more like the Mario logo. Sort of, it's like it goes up there. So yeah, just add text and then convert that to a mesh. You can tweak that. Got everything named properly. I say that, but buttons, logo, M. So I've got everything named there. Go over everything, Control A, all transforms to deltas. You actually want all transforms to set everything to the origin for rigging. As I say, with the ears we need a bit more subdiv to get it perfect, but I think that's pretty much Mario in place, isn't it? Make sure you go to external data, automatically pack resources, clean up, purge anything there. Control S to save. I've got plenty of unwrapping tutorials. The original plan was to unwrap this and add the jeans texture along here. We just haven't got time. So we're going to start adding some materials. Let's go to the hat, material, new, name it, hat, colour, go into there, this one here, and let's get like the red colour he's got. Pretty much just a natural red, isn't it? Something like that. And you can always tweak them colours. We can also assign that. Really, we should call that. We'll just call that red. And we can just assign the red to there. And we'll call this blue. Or blue. Yes, I'm alright, green. That's the blue. Maybe a touch darker. This is a brown. So adjust this on the right here to make it darker. Something like that. What you could do there to make it a little bit different, come out of subdiv mode, go into your brown, into material, add your plus there, new, call that light brown. We're going to edit mode face, you got X on, go to see through. We could select faces around there, go to light brown, we'll grab that and copy that, go into light brown, paste it and just make it lighter and go to assign. It's not quite an 100% mirror on there, so just select the other ones, the other side, light brown, assign. That's created it a little bit different there. Control S to save. We'll go to our buttons here, new, yellow. It was called yellow. Yellow for your buttons. Pretty much white, isn't it, for the gloves? So white, but just make it a little off-white. That we can also have as off-white. That is the red. And we want should we call that dark brown? Just try and get his dark brown hair in there. Maybe not quite as dark. And you can also add your dark brown to there and your dark brown your Tash. Control S to save, grab your water, wet your whistle. Now we want the skin. So we'll just call that skin. We'll try and find something along the lines of what Mario looks like. A little bit like that, I guess. As I say, I wanted to texture it and unwrap it and add a bit of redness and stuff, but it's just going on too long, so I'm not going to be able to do that on this one. But as I say, I got plenty of unwrapping tutorials. That M logo needs to be a bit thicker. Let's not worry about that for now. Final thing, I guess, is the eyes. So let's just call it eye white. And we'll go to plus, call that eye light blue, and spell it right. Light blue. It seems to be sort of just going to solo mode for a minute, // light blue. Something along the lines of maybe that. Let's come out of there. Yeah, more like that maybe. And then we need to plus again. Eye dark blue. Control S to save. Grab these ones. Make this the darker blue, isn't it? Something along the lines of that, maybe. A sign. And we can add a little specular highlight in there, couldn't we? Or is it black? Let's have a look at the reference. No, it's blue. It's like blacky blue, I guess. Something like that. And then add mesh sphere. So I don't think I'm going to have time to light this anything. So we'll just add a little specular highlight for now. Must be crafter. Let's bring this up here. Scale. Bring it in there. It seems to be, if it's just this one reference I'm looking at, it seems to be there, doesn't it? Right click and shade smooth. If you go to new, you can go down to emission. Maybe 0.25. Out of solo. It's not too bad, is it? Obviously, generate a mirror modifier. We'll add it to the other side. And we need to do the same thing now with the other side. So we'll go into edit mode. We'll select these. Material. Light blue. Sign. And then these ones, dark blue, sign. Grab your specular. Shift D, return. Wasn't quite perfect mirror. So we'll just add it like that. Something along the lines of that. So there's your basic Mario. And what we can also do, would have been nice to get the gene texture, but it's not too bad. What we can also do is go into our materials, decrease our roughness. A little bit. You got a bit more shine on the shoes. Maybe somewhere like 0.3. Our eyes. Roughness 0. Find me that. You've got 3 different materials, so set them all to 0, so you got your nice shine in your eyes. That one. You got an emission, you can leave that. We can set it to 0 as well, see how it looks. There's our shiny eyes. Rest of it, pretty much just leave it at default really. I guess we could have a bit of a shine on the button. Maybe 0.25. This we could maybe have as 0.4, just have a touch of shine on the hand. Just tweak this a bit, maybe get a bit more fleshy look, a bit of redness. We could have this M on the red. No, we don't really need much roughness on there, do we? Just leave it halfway. So we've got our nice shiny eyes, got our materials in there. Just check around. That's not too bad. There's our basic Mario. Our basic materials. All named. So say this M probably do being a little bit bigger. I like to see my wireframes. You can just go into edit vertex, see through, so you're grabbing the one at the back. Maybe just make this a little bit bigger. The M. Now my kid loves Mario. It looks like that M is coming up here as well. Something like that. That should maybe be a bit bigger. But we ain't got to worry about that so much. That's the materials. That's Mario then, really. Clothes should probably be about 0.7 for roughness. And then it's more cloth-like. If you have them around 0.65, 0.7, more cloth-like for clothes. I guess what we could do on this, we could have a bit of metallic, couldn't we, as well? I'll make it a metallic button. No bit of a mess on the faces there, but I suppose it adds a little bit of texture to it, doesn't it? 0.3. So that's the material. So what we'll do, we do actually want to separate these eyes so we can have a little eye dart. But really, I only want to create a basic rig, so we might not have an eye dart on this. We might just have a blink. So we'll leave it for now. That. So that's going to be, there's our model of Mario. So what we're going to do next, with our model, sculpt and materials added, we're going to add a basic rig to him. then we're going to animate him just waving. So there's quite a lot to this tutorial again. It's going to go on for probably 2.5 to 3 hours. So next up, what we'll do, we'll rig. And what we could also do, we could add a bit of like red in there, couldn't we? Fleshiness in the mouth. I think we'll probably just do that now while we're at it. We can add another one and call it, say, red skin. A bit as a reddy colour, but not too red. / the solo. Let's just select. You can turn off your subdiv. Go into edit mode and just select. If you go inside, delete on your numpad. Now you're inside, you can select your faces. I'm just selecting the faces we want. Just going around and having a look. Have a look from there. I don't think we need it on that, do we? Back into your material, red skin, the sign, and you've at least got a bit of pinkness in the mouth, haven't you there? You can apply your subdiv, / and there's Mario ready to rig. So I'll have a little break. I shall come back and we'll get our hero Mario rigged up. Right then, so we're back on this, ready to get rigging. Just done a few little tweaks before we start that, just to the proportions again. Scaled the head a little bit. I added this little extrusion round here, inwards, to help visualise the roundness a bit more. You always want to sort of, when you're looking at it from that kind of angle here, try and get some roundness in there, so it's not as flat in places. You got form to it. I was going to add really he's got like his Dungarees there, so you could just add a few cuts and extrude that out, which I might do in a bit, but you know, can't show absolutely everything here, else it goes on too long. We still really, I added a touch of inflation around there, but we need like another section there on the ears. So this is just all polished stuff you could add. You could increase the subdivision on that. But I think for this now, we want to start thinking about rigging. So let's Control S to save. So we've got the character in place. Let's I like to work in grey mode really when I'm rigging. So there's our character. You want to check you've got everything at 0. Nothing parented. So I was gonna parent the specular to the eye, but you want everything unparented. You can just go over, Control A, all transforms. So there's our character ready to rig. We're at the origin there. Boots, I guess, could come down a touch, doesn't really matter. But you want them close to the floor. So now we've done that, we'll just tweak this down a bit. I mean, I'm always trying to get things perfect and you can't do that all the time. You need to crack on really. So again, Control A, all transforms. So let's look into getting this rigged up then. We can create a simple animation. I'm not gonna add different bones to the eyes like I did in the Blender beginning series, so we can do eye darts. I'm just going to keep it simple. So we'll go to add, armature, then we'll just go for a basic human, and you'll notice you're going to go into the viewport display and go to in front, and you can see your skeleton there, and you'll notice that this skeleton here is facing that way. So really, when we modelled, Mario should have been facing in +X, which is no big issue. All you have to do, really, you could rotate the character, you could select everything and bring him round like that, and then just double check you're at 180 or -180. You'll have to go through individually and just check everything is at -180, so everything's still aligned. Or we could have just spin the rig around. But the problem with that, with Blender, it's just never 100%. But when you generate the rig, it's going to be kind of on axis. It's best just to go through. I know it's a bit of a pain. It's a 50-50 shot if you're starting off. And that's the thing with 3D. Things always come back to bite you unless you do it straight off the bat, 100%. Always remember that, especially that's true in games as well. Things always come back to bite you. It's best to really be 100% on it. So double check everything's at -180. If it is, we've got our meta rig. Let's just hide that, go over them, Control A, all transforms. Now we've got our meta rig now. We can go to 0 and let's move it back into place. So there he is, ready to go. So what you do now then, is you'll go into edit mode and you'll start moving this. Hit your X. And you'll start moving this rig around now. Shift to select everything. Select all your bones. And you move that now. Make sure you've enabled X. Start moving this around to match your character mesh. I've done plenty of tutorials on this before. We're not going to be using foot rolls or anything like that. You want to get it into place. This is just going to be a simple wave. So that's going to be your toe roll. So it'll look to go along the edge loops. So just moving this stuff around. Obviously he's down here. So that can be around there. He's got short legs, hasn't he? Cartoony character. Make sure on these bones, if you click the one, you'll separate them. So you want to go over like that. Move them all. So you don't separate things and break stuff. It's quite temperamental. It's a great system, don't get me wrong. Really is a great system, Rigify. You just got to be 100% when you're setting it up. You can move there. I could have stayed there, the foot roll. And we've got, what else we got? Then we got our spine stuff here. I'll just move this around. I believe the spine 6 is the head. Yep, spine 6 is your head. I've rigged that many characters over the years in Blender. Especially on Eden. Game. Rigged them all on that. You want evenly spaced really. Obviously. You're best to select the balls. Move that forward. I mean, like the structure of the spine is sort of an S-curve. You haven't got to worry about that so much when rigging. Depending on what you're rigging, I guess, but move that up. Yeah. Can't really see his neck, but get it into place. That's going to encompass all of the head. And we'll weight everything there. Obviously, what you can do, you can go to samples down here and add a basic raw copy if you want to rig up the eyes, which I've done in the past. We're keeping that simple, so that's the basic torso and the head in place. What we'll do now, we'll move the arms about. That's a good bone for breathing. Yeah. The breastbone, I believe it is, yeah. That is our shoulder bone. That goes up there. Your shoulder. And bring that a bit straight if you want. So the shoulder around there. Shoulder bone to your arm. That's your upper arm. And obviously should be around there. That's going to be the hand. And you can add sample bones if you want the fingers rigged up fully. It will probably just create a simple shape key. Create a touch of appeal for the hands. Just bring that to around there. Shoulder. There, you can roll the bone, get it straight. But you might have to roll it again afterwards to get it back straight. Once you've set your rig up, I've noticed. Just to be on axis. So hand, arm, Control S to save. Then just go around, look at some different angles. That looks pretty decent there. As I say, it's not going to be perfect. You can't create absolute perfection on these tutorials, but I'm trying to work fast. Do it as best I can, but you wouldn't think that when you think look at the length of some of my tutorials. Some people are just super quick. I've never been slow and I've never been super quick, just in between really. So yeah, that can be the head there. I can just shoot out of there a bit. So that should be the basic rig setup for animation. Just look at where that's going to pivot down. Obviously when we have automatic weights on that, we're going to have to paint out the influence because that's going to catch the head. So after you've rigged, you have to start white painting. So that looks pretty much in place for what we want. But let's Control S to save. Then we'll generate this rig next. We've got our rig there. We can name that. We'll keep that as meta rig. So what we want to do now is we want to just double check everything's at 0. If things don't come back to bite you. Meta rigs at there. I like to create a new collection. Miscellaneous, and we can keep the generated rig. So we grab the rig, go into the running man and generate rig. Now you can see that you've generated a rig with all your controls. So now we've got that. We also want to go to in front so we can see it. If you go into if you're in pose mode, you're running man, you see bone collections here. You see like you got your deformation bones, which you need for painting weight. That's where all your info stored. We're back into object mode. We've got our generated rig now, but obviously that isn't binded yet to the character. You've just generated it. It's a little bit different to Maya and 3D Max. You've used that in the past. So what we want to do now we've got our generated rig, is I like to call it, let's rename it Mario rig. We want to select all our meshes. And then you select your rig. And then your Control P with automatic weights. But what I think I might do is we don't really want the automatic weights on the head. We just want, if we have that empty, we can just paint in all the different things, and then this body won't affect the head as much. So what we'll do, I think, is we'll just hide that Mario rig. We've got our meta rig, we'll put that into miscellaneous. We want our Mario rig, remove Mario. We can hide our meta rig now, our miscellaneous. So I think what we'll do, we'll grab all these ones in our rig, Control P with automatic weights. We've got automatic weights on the body now. But with our head, we'll grab that Control P. We'll go with empty groups on the head. And that should give us, we're going to pose mode now. By doing that, with empty groups on the head, we haven't got to go through the hassle of painting out the influence of the shoulder onto the head, for example. So that's your IK control, that is. Once you've binded, you'll get your controls here. I like to work in FK, I do. Everyone's different. I think FK will be good for our wave. So you just set that there. 1 is FK, 0 is IK. And as I say, in your bones here, you can hide stuff. So arm, IK will hide that. and right arm IK will hide that. So you've hid your IK. And you won't move there unless you set that back to 0. That's how it works. Hide our IK. IK is good for, I've done an animation for work the other day where the character lands on the floor, so I switched from FK to IK. So it's in FK, and as he hits the ground, switches to IK. It's generally good when you're hitting something or picking something up IK, and you can switch between. So let's Control S to save. We've binded our character there. And then with the head, if we go into pose mode, you'll see that there's nothing there. So we need to paint in the head. So what we can do, as I've shown, if we go to DEF, which means deformation, we can grab our head, grab our rig. It's actually the other way around. You grab your rig and then your head, and you go to weight paint, F to resize. And I like to have that as none. You don't see the black. I've always worked with the blue. And if you Control Shift click, you've selected your spine 006, which is your head. Your weight's at 1 and your strength at 1. So you can paint in this head now. So basically that bone, that control, is influencing the whole of the head. So there he is. Mario Devil. Ooh, scary. So you've done that for the head. Grab your eyebrows. So rig, mesh, white paint. Painting your eyebrows. Grab your eyes. Remember to rig first. Grab your rig and then your mesh. You've already got your... If you click this, you can see through to the back. I don't think you can... Oh, you can alt Q as well on it. Didn't realise you could do that in white paint. So yeah, hair. Next, so rig, mesh. Rig, mesh, white paint. You've already got that selected. Paint your hat in. You want full influence, red. Get everything painted in. Come out of white paint. And what you can also do as well, what I've done here to paint in the rest, if you're in pose mode, let's just Alt R to set that back. We've got the head, we've painted a few items in the head and the hat and that. So if you tilt the head, rotate it there, you can just go back to your rig, your mesh, white paint. Make sure you Control Shift click your head. You can just paint it in like that and it will go to tilted position. The white paint. You've got your head selected. Paint it in. Remember that one to double check. Rig. Eyebrows. White paint. Paint it in there. So it's just going to that position. This is what you want. Object mode, rig, the white paint, specular, select the next one, specular, white paint, specular, next up, your Tash, white paint, and your Tash in. That's very useful. see through everything. Remember, in 3D, not 2D. The last one could be the hair, the white paint on that. Paint your hair in. I think that's everything for the head. Yep. I'm out to see through. Control S to save. I think that looks like everything on the head. Then we can just go to pose mode. We go to A. Alt R, Alt G. Just reset everything. There's the head. And you've even got a bit of influence on the body around there, look. Alt R. Must have been local mode. It's local and global. Use either, but local's good after blocking, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. That's got the head painted in, hasn't it? There's your head. No. Obviously, if you're creating a full model, there should be a bit more roundness in that, but you can still add that afterwards if you want. A little bit of roundness. Should have been before, but obviously on these tutorials you try and cover as much as you can, but you miss stuff really. So that's the head. So what you really want to do now, we're only going to have him in a simple standing pose. So I'm not going to go in and paint tons of different stuff. I've done it in plenty of other tutorials, but the basis of it is you can put it into a pose like that. And it's all based on influence. So your white paint, make sure you're with your deformation bones. You'll look at what's influencing what. So that's your shin. So you don't really want any weight of your shin on the boot. You can enable X there. And also if you go into symmetry, mirror vertex groups, X, topology mirror if you've got a perfect symmetrical body. So rig, mesh, white paint. So if you click that boot bone, it's influencing this part of the trouser. But you don't want it to, so you paint it out. So that's what the next part of rigging's all about. It's known as skinning. And you'll go in. It takes a long time, especially on the face, to get it right. You'll go in and just start painting what you want influencing. You adjust your weight. You paint stuff in, paint stuff out. Weights, you'll smooth it. Click this bone, see what's influencing what. Painting weight in, painting it out, smooth. It's all that kind of stuff. What you'd probably want really there is you would want a little bit of influence on the trouser there. It all depends on the mesh you've got really and how you want it to act. So the more weight I'm painting in there, it's bringing it back down to the shoe. So it's all that kind of stuff. Then you can create shape key fixes as well. So if you've got parts you don't want, if you want it to deform differently. So A, Alt R, Alt G. And I'll probably do a bit of tidy up on that, because I might say I'll put this rig for sale for a few dollars. So I'll have to do a bit of clean up really on this. But the hardest part really to get right in rigging, in my opinion, is the shoulders. So what we do need is to get this shoulder. So I mean, straight off the bat, the deformations aren't too bad with Blender. But you obviously still need to go in and show it a bit of love. Shoulder area. And you can create a shape key fix. So see there, it's like it's coming apart, isn't it? Because we had separate meshes. What you could do there, you could grab that and that, /, actually / again, because we want the rig, / to isolate, grab your rig, your arm, white paint, and just your weight up or down, so how it's behaving. Obviously you don't want that to be coming out there, white's smooth. See what's affecting it. Looks like you want some more weight. Not necessarily from that breastbone, from that spine, so it pulls it back in. We're adding some influence from the spine to that arm. I'll pull it back into the torso. White's smooth. Let's check that one. Paint some influence on that. It pulls it back in. White's smooth. And then as this arm comes up, let's have a look how this bone is influencing it here. Make sure you're selecting the deformation bones. So lock your strength weight down and then paint some influence in. So if you think about it, when you raise your arm, some of your shirt will go up. That's exactly what we're doing here, adjusting the weight and painting some influence in. That's closed the gap, hasn't it? Obviously there's still a gap there. You have to just go in and Control-Shift-Click, see what's influencing it. Let's try and paint the weight out a bit more than that one. So that bone is not influencing it as much. It's not moving as far, so it's brought it back in to close the gap. This one, you don't really want any influence on it. Shift click, see what's influencing what. That's just how it works. See, that bone there is influencing this part. That bone is influencing that part. So, pose mode, A, Alt R, Alt G, /, bring everything back. And now, it's still not perfect, but when you bring this up, rotate this round a bit, we can look into getting the wave pose. So what I'm going to do now is I've shown you how to do it. I'm going to go in and do a bit more weight painting. Nothing complex or in depth, just to tidy up around the shoulder area a bit. And one thing I did miss is I've shown you the symmetry in that. So it should paint in the opposite side. But sometimes it's not perfect, so you do have to go into the opposite side and do a bit of white painting and clean up. And if you click it, looks like it's pretty much got it. You still sometimes have to go in and do a bit of tweaking on the opposite side. And that's how it works with rigging. And you'll go into white smooth, and you can, I like to have it as 2 or 3. Just say, let's close the gap, hasn't it now? Paint that out a bit more, let's close the gap more. So we should have enough to create our simple wave. Like I say there. And if you've got, so there's a bit of a, is that like an inner? It's / there. Is that from? Oh, we did apply our Solidify. But Solidify creates a bit of a double sort of mesh part. I paint a little bit of influence in on this. It's a lot of back and forth with rigging. Obviously this, you don't want it coming through, so you'd have to paint that out. So that's another thing that's come back to bite us a little bit. We had a Solidify, which creates like our epic pen there. So it's hard to cover everything when you're rushing. It's hard to make sure everything's perfect, but with can't seem to access my epic pen, but like with Solidify, you've got your outer bit and your inner bit, like out and inner. So that's where that bending's come from. You got plane there and another plane like inside. Really, we should only have the one like that. But that is how you go about rigging stuff. Remember to pose mode, Alt-R, Alt-G. I mean, that's Mario rigged up to a basic degree. So I'm just going to do a little bit more polish and clean up on Mario. Just so we can pose it a little bit better. And I'll come back, tell you what I've done. And we'll get him animated then, waving. So I've done a bit of clean up on this rig. I only spent about 5 or 10 minutes, just a bit of work on these shoulders here. I've done a bit more. You got like a nice little toe roll control that's created there. So I just painted in some of this back where it's coming apart. On both sides round here. Like I say, it's just painting your weight in and out. Just painting around the pelvis area, and that's a good one for breathing as well. So obviously there's a section there because we got that double bit from the Solidify. So that's a bit I've missed. I just go in. You've got your vertex groups here in the triangle. You can spin through that. See if you need to paint anything in or out. Things like that. So you just wanted it painted in there, didn't you? White, smooth. Got this bit on the back here. It's annoying that we needed to solidify to get a bit of depth on there. But it's not the best thing, solidify, because as I say, it creates the double whammy, as it were, the double mesh. So yeah, cleaned up that a bit. Go into pose mode. You can move your shoulders and stuff. We'll be able to create a wave with this now. As I keep saying, it's far from a perfect rig. You can also create a shape key fix if you're only creating a basic little animation. So let's just double check. The head's alright. Yep. I think we're good to go on that. So Alt-R, Alt-G to reset. Let's go into our colour. Get a bit of colour there. I'm not going to be setting up lights and cameras. I've got plenty of tutorials for setting lights and cameras up. Did we get any camera and lights? I can't remember. If we go into lit mode, you've got your default. If you go into animation, I'll show you how to set it up. Basic. I like to use cycles. You want GPU compute. And although no one follows me, I like to set it up for Instagram, TikTok and stuff. It's 1080-bit, 1920. You can grab your camera here, T and N to bring up your stuff. Global's good for moving that. When you move this camera, you'll see it move if you're in your animation tab. You can just set your rotation at 0. Bring that over, and he's into camera view then, so he's in your camera view. Our hero, Mario. It's just a case of getting an aesthetically pleasing camera view. You got your lights here, so if you're in lit, generally you'll go into lit mode this side. And this side I like to work in grayscale. It's my wireframe. And there's your, you just bring your lights, and you can change your light to like a area light or point, sun, spotlight. Just leave it as a point light for now. Set your strength to about 2.5 or maybe 2000. And there's your very basic lighting. Radius, the more that goes up, the more you create softer shadows. Try it about 3. Generally about 5 is good for. So that's your basic lighting, Mario. And just straight off a simple lights and camera, you got something that's in the ballpark. You got your ballpark arc if you was animating. So that's how you set your camera and light up. Control S to save. So we'll hide that for now. Keep it on material. Let's set up our, now we're in our animation tab. You can set our animation up. I've got a bit of reference just on my other monitor. I like to be in the timeline. So we'll go into pose mode. Before you do that, you don't need, you can go in and you can hide a lot of these controls you don't want, like your leg tweak. Well, I've animated characters for films, games, and a lot of these tweaks, you don't really use them, or you lose them for the last like 5% of polish just to add a bit of a curve. You can turn a lot of these controls off so it's not as confusing. You want to keep things as simple as you can with 3D. Root, you don't really need to see your root control. You definitely don't need your deformation bones. They're used for when you're rigging and skinning. You can turn your def bones off. So see how that's simplified it a bit. You may want to see my screencast keys, so I'll just restart that for you. So there he is. Let's just have a loop of, we'll set it to 100 for now, but we might. Well, let's just try 70 for now. Turn your auto key on, A, I. You can also right click and also I down here, all controls. So let's get our basic wave pose in for Mario. So that controls to bring your pole vector out for your foot. Let's just move that foot there and that one there so it's not in the same plane. It's a little bit different. Move that round. Let's have a little tilt in the torso. We could also maybe bring him round a touch. Create a touch of perspective to it. Going that way. We could bring the shoulder up and that down to create a bit of a, I don't know if my, it's not working for some reason now. Creating a bit of a contrapposto pose, so it's what you want. Even if it's just slightly, just so it's not as linear, that arm, bring it down. You can work in usually global for blocking and local for polish. But I like to work in local a lot to avoid gimbal lock. So that arm, bring that arm down a bit. You can't really pose the hands as such because we haven't got the finger controls like on other rigs. But we can create a shape key for it. Which we'll do in a bit. But just bringing his arm down a bit, twisting it in a little bit. This arm we want to come up and use our y-axis to twist it round a bit. This, remember that it bends that way, so it's anatomically correct. You can actually rotate your shoulder as well if you want. Control S to save. We're just trying to create a basic wave pose now. Look at it from different angles. You can actually lift your arm up and think how your arm looks when you wave. So that can be twisted round a bit, can't it? And it does actually points forward a bit, doesn't it? When you're waving. And that will come back a bit. One nice thing to have is a little head tilt. So you could maybe have it so we got that going that way, that way, or we could have him that way. Whatever you think looks best, either way could work really, but always try and get a little head tilt in there of some kind. So a little head tilt there. Let's maybe bring him like that. Bring this down a bit, bring that into there. You could have that foot heading out a bit. Maybe bring that foot forward a bit and that one back. And you could actually, you've got your root control. You can actually use that as well. It's very rare you do, but whereas it's quite a simple animation. You could maybe just bring him round a touch there. Usually set and forget that control. Control S to save. You could have his head either up or down. Maybe up a touch. Tilt it that way a touch more. Clear silhouette is what you want, a nice clear silhouette. This, maybe bring that forward a bit. And you got your spine controls in there. Remember, where about is it? You've got, let's see, if you can have the head, I believe it's head follow, is it? Yeah, I like to have that. I don't know if it's 0 or 1. When you move the spine, I like to have the neck and the head follow that spine. So when the spine moves, the head moves, but that's up to you. There's a lot of these properties in your rig properties here. All down to your personal preference. But I prefer the head to move with the spine. So if you've tilted that way a bit, try and get subtle S-curve in there on the spine. Even if it's subtle, just move the spine around a bit. These spine controls. So that's not too bad, is it? The hand's a bit strange. But what we can do there is, so this shape key, you got your bases, click it again. You got key 1. If you name that hand appeal, you can then go into sculpt mode. And you can just get your grab brush. And if you wanted, you could, like, obviously not going to do it now, but you could bend it into a fist shape as well. I'm just going to keep it simple for now. We're just creating a simple shape key on this hand. Just to create a touch of appeal. Nothing super special. Don't need it. It doesn't matter, it's only on that mesh. It's for each mesh. So maybe that finger there, and then you see the middle finger. And what you could maybe do is bring that little finger back more so you can see it. But I'm not gonna, I'm just rushing now. You could create a bit more appeal on that and maybe bring the thumb. Just think about hanging the thumb down a bit more. That'll do for now. And obviously on this hand, just looking at the reference, let's create. Oh yeah, sorry, we have, it's part of it is part of the other side. So we got hand appeal, screen left, and then screen right. So into sculpt mode on this. Let's just think about just some basic, just so you can see a little bit more clearly. You might have to go right in so you're not pulling the other finger. And you can mask it out if you want. If you press M, you can mask it. So if you mask it, you're not going to move it, but there's always a, so you can always mask, clear mask. It's hard when it's close like that, but there is a box mask. You can do it like that as well. I believe there's a lasso mask, clear, but I'm just going to just keep it simple for now. Another thing you could do is go into edit mode. And they're quite close together, aren't they? You have to maybe go into see-through, and so you're grabbing other vertices then. So let's just keep it simple. We've got, there's the nice wave, nice little pose. So it's just a case of separating the fingers a bit, really. And they should have been modelled further apart and with a bone system. That's a good way of separating them a bit. Look, smooth. Just with our shift. Smooth. So yeah, that kind of thing. It's not a lot of separation, but I don't think you need tons of separation between, do you really? I know in ZBrush there's a move topological. Not actually sure if there is one in there. Is there a grab topological in Blender? Elastic grab. Nudge, if that was a lot. Grab silhouette. Oh, there you go. That's how the move topological in ZBrush. You learn something every day. Grab silhouette. I think I've taught myself something today. Grab silhouette It's like you move topological brush. Superb. Control S to side. So we can tweak that to our heart's content, but we can't keep going on. That's our pose. And now let's just have him. Let's just have him waving there now. Very simple little wave. So back into pose mode. Aye. We've set our key there. Let's just think about a simple wave. Very simple. You could do a little toe tap maybe. So think about the mechanics of it. On the first, it's pretty much just your elbow, isn't it? So it'll be like that. Just literally do the wave. You can even stand up and do the wave while you just feel it out, kind of thing. So that's the extreme. That kind of thing. You could have a touch. Just a tiny little touch of movement on the shoulder, couldn't you? As he waves. And you could have the tiniest little movement on the root as well. And then let's say try 12 I. Very height I. Move him back a touch, the shoulder back a touch, this, that way, touch, and then that one, back in. Try and keep the silhouette clean. That back in a touch. So if we scrub it, there's our simple wave. Mario. Very simple. So we could copy, paste it onto, copy, paste onto 24, and 36, forward another 12 to 48, paste, then copy, on there, now 72, paste. If you set that to 71, we want the first pose the same as the last. So, out, in, out. Oh, I don't think we, hang on. Let's delete that. So I don't think we selected all the rig, did we? We've got it all now. So, copy, paste. Oh yeah, back and forth. So, paste, set that to 69. In the first pose, you want the same as the last, and then truncate the last one so it loops perfect. If we press play now, but we turn off, because it's quite heavy now, you can turn off your subdiv. When you're animating, you can turn it off there, look, your subdivision. Things will play smoothly. Play back. Play every frame. Which is how you want it really to see properly. You want 24 FPS. So there's our hero, old Mario. Waving. What a guy. Very simple. What you'd go into your in pose mode, you'd go into your graph editor for your polish. which I've shown you before. This is where all the juicy stuff happens for an animator. Only selected keyframes, don't show your cursor. What you can do on you'll go into your root first. If you go to Modify Cycles, you can turn off your scale and stuff that you don't want. Remember that we set a key on location, didn't we? What you can do, you can go in and just create a little bit of variation by pulling at your handles and stuff. So it's not quite the same on each move back and forth, and you can't really see but you can feel it. So it's just very simple. You could grab your Y, turn off what you don't want, and on your Y you could maybe move that on a frame and just vary it up a little bit. I'm not going in depth here on animation. I'm just showing you a couple of things, how to loosen things up. I suppose, thinking about the mechanics of it, let me just stand up a minute and try. I mean, the hips probably should be going the opposite way to create a bit of a opposite action instead. So if we grab the last frame, the first frame, and move that down, or all of them, move that down to there, and then the other three, move it up instead. When his hand is going this way, his hips are going the opposite way. So you've created a bit of interest there already. You implement all the 12 principles of animation, and you also think about weight and silhouette and opposite actions and stuff. So that feels a bit better to me. Even though it's only very simple. Very simple. And even on your Y you could just add just a bit of animation dirt. And if the animation was longer, you could maybe add a little toe tap. I just don't think the animation's long enough for that. Let's go to 38. Move that up. It looks like it's copy that. Paste it to 41. Copy all of that. Delete that. Copy paste. Say something like that, but maybe not quite as fast. I think when I've done top toe taps before, it's generally like 3 taps. There's something like that. Very simple little toe tap. Just to create a touch more interest. If you don't like it, just delete it. So on the arm, we animated the shoulder a bit, didn't we? Just going, was it on the Y? Yeah. You can add a cycle so it loops. You got an infinite loop then. It was just a bit of back and forth, so just vary it up a little bit. I think that was the main. Was that the main? think it was the Z, wasn't it? Yeah. There again, you can just cycles if you want. Just add a bit of little bit of like overshoot, or goes a little bit further on some of them, so it's not so linear. Hangs for a little bit longer, if you remember the bouncing ball tutorial. And this one here. Hide what you don't want. Zoom in and see what we used. I don't think, doesn't look like we used anything on that, did we? We had the hand, didn't you? Usually your X or Z. You can see on the Z there. You add it to both if you want. Could move that forward a touch maybe, to create a touch of overlap. And see how it looks when you move that forward. There he is. Like old Mario. Being a ZX Spectrum kid. I'm not kid now, he really likes Mario. That's how you go about polish. It's only very simple animation, but there he is. So that's going to be the end. I mean, it's been well over 2 hours, probably close to 3 hours again, this tutorial. So obviously you can light him as well. You'll usually create sort of a infinite background if you remember my other tutorials. It's like a plane around there with a bent curve, sort of a curved plane. Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? So I think that is going to be the end of this tutorial. We've covered a hell of a lot of stuff again, to be honest. We've modelled the full character, Mario. We've created the simple textures for him. I would have liked to have applied the jeans texture and added a few eye darts and blinks. I mean, just out of interest, if you wanted to add a blink, you just go about what we've done with the shape key for the hand, really. It's just a case of you go into your shape key, create a basis, maybe name that blink. And then you go into your sculpt mode, G for grab. Click that little arrow if you and you create your blink like that. You're not dead symmetrical, so turn your X off. It'll be a case of moving your mesh, which I think we done it for Lego Jake Sully, didn't we? Moving your mesh all about, and you can key it there. See that key? You can go in between. So that's how you create your blink. But I'm not going to do that on this. So yeah, plenty of tasty details and stuff in that. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Modelling, rigging and animating again. Keeping it simple. The rigging. Just so we could create the animation. So remember to like, subscribe, and I've got a Patreon now. So join that for free. So it's going to be goodbye from me. And goodbye from Mario. So, cheers guys, and I shall see you on the next one. Peace. Right, so we wave goodbye, but I'll just bring you back to explain that clarify that thing again with the solidify. So just rub this out. Yeah. So if we isolate these two, what I mean is, if you look at the face, go into edit mode and delete a face there, it goes straight through, doesn't it? Well, that's how you want your mesh. Like with this here, if we go into edit mode, turn off our subdiv, delete this face, it goes straight through. So you've just got your single plane, not your single, say, piece of paper, if you will. But with this one, because we added this Solidify modifier and applied it, it created like a double. So I'm probably going to use this rig in the future to create some little animations on the channel, which I think could be pretty good. So what I'll probably do is, and you can do this, you can just go in and your inner bits, you can select them, hit delete, and you'll delete your inner sections to make it a lot more clean. You can keep, say, this bit here and this bit here to create your depth. So that's probably the proper way really to go about it if you wanted a studio ready rig, for example. But that was never the plan with this tutorial. We only wanted to create like this arm section to wave, so we was never going to create some studio ready rig, for example. If you delete all them and say a little bit awkward, them, and you can just select like an island. If you control L, hit delete, you'll delete all of that section there. So you want to just be deleting all your inner part. If you hold Alt, and you'll select your whole ring. You don't want, no, you just want the inner bits selected. So you just want to go around and do that. And then once you've done that, if you bring back your, so if you delete, say, this section there at the bottom, delete those. So it's a mess, isn't it, with the Solidify? You want to be deleting all this. Oh yeah, it'll take a while to delete it all. Not too long, but you just want your single. So when you, so you can see through, that's how you want it. If you're just following along with a tutorial for a simple wave, it's fine. But if you want it to be more of a, where you want to do a run cycle, for example, or a walk or something, jump, best to clean that up. If you brought that back, then what you could do, you could say, combine these two. And what you'd have to do then, I'll just save that because I don't want to save this next bit. You'd have to do something like Control J to join them both. And then in edit mode, you don't want to delete the inner bits. You sort of grab your verts. And this is messy, I'm just showing you for the process. You want to merge them together. So then you get a nice clean inside. It just flows all the way along flat. So you'd want it nice and this. You'd want it like welded to make it nice and clean. So that's not. I think you probably, when you've you can see what I'm trying to get at, can't you there? Any questions, just let me know, but you'd want it like that. You want to join them and get them all cleanly welded. Then you wouldn't have you wouldn't have your inner part. Then you wouldn't have two sections, because that's it's difficult when you're rigging to have the two bits. And on your shoe, you could, for example, you isolate that. You could select these faces here, for example. Delete those. Come out to solo. Delete this dirtiness here. And then weld this boot to the there. So, if you want anything beyond a simple wave, that's how you go about it to make it cleaner. This is what I'm going to have to do, because, as I say, I want to put this on my Patreon. So remember to join that Patreon. And that was just an extra bit at the end. And definitely now, we are saying goodbye. So, I'll see you on the next one, guys. Sorry that this tutorial went on for over 3 hours, but hell of a lot of stuff to cover. So, cheers. See you on the next one. Bye.